Here it is, special discussion of the DRT, starting with my favorite skyscraper, the pyramid. Discussion of the DRT, just marching back to my headquarters from the mountain. You can see the river here. Hawk Island, Montreal, marching back home. I'm getting a bit hungry. So for the firefighters, butchers, bakers, nurses, electricians, the plumbers, the welders, the doctors, going to be discussing the DRT only, the death refusion theory. I'll not be generally discussing geopolitics, nor singing too much rock and roll, which is the co-parallel of my special interest as a neurodivergent Aspiesque. I have Asperger's syndrome. But the DRT is on the menu for this video, specifically the death refusion theory as it pertains to the North American Collective and its implementation thereof, which we must implement as a mass public-private partnership, which will require a mass PPP, institutions, organizations, my brother Scorpio Bill Gates, and all institutions and organizations which are pertinent to its implementation thereof, vis-a-vis the public and the private wellness and general overall restructuring and the harmonization of the public and the private spheres, at least of the North American Collective, or what I call the North American Civilizational Complex, of which we are a North American Civilizational Complex. We are not totally divorced, but we are distinct from Western civilization, but we're not divorced, but we're distinct. So the debt refusion theory is a financial theory. D stands for debt, R stands for refusion, T stands for theory. It also integrates in it the monetary integration theory. So the monetary integration theory is, of course, the facultative affairs, of course, of the MIT, which, of course, integrates. And, of course, that is integrated in my debt refusion theory. So the debt refusion theory is a financial theory. Important to say that it is a debt refusion theory which is integrated. And, of course, it is the relationship, of course, of existence where we have now to be the relationship of the administrative affairs which we're going to implement, right? I've discussed it in the past. And, of course, all that relationship, of course, now, as we, of course, to the plateau, which is, of course, the relationship of the faculty, of course, of administrative affairs, which is going to transfer to the mass public-private partnership, of course, integral in the affairs, of course, of mankind. That will, of course, be a plateau for further advancement in the mass public-private partnership administrative affairs. So, of course, all that administrative affairs is, of course, the consequences, of course, of our actions, which are going to be furthermore enhanced by wellness and general overall fitness and mental health, which is going to be implemented in concordance to the implementation of the DRT, the debt refusion theory. So, of course, all that has to be, of course, correlated where we got now to be a relationship. The relationship where we are now is that we're living in a reality that is a geopolitical crisis in parallel to what is that? Nice. Geopolitical crisis, and of course in concorded, of course, to a geopolitical crisis, which of course is the concorded, of course, of the administrative relations of our public finances, which is in a stressful situation because we're going to have to keep on cutting because it's not sustainable. The debt, not the debt per se, but the interest, ever-going interest rates, which of course are to be, of course, related in the faculty. So, of course, all that relationship is the administrative affair which we have, of course, to relate ourselves with in the plurality of existing now. So, of course, all that taken together and counterpositioning themselves in an aligned manner without being too intellectual or academic. But the reality is that many of us, including myself, are financially stressed, So that financial stress adds, of course, to myself as an individual, but me is mostly due to my Asperger's syndrome. I don't have resentments or any negative feelings versus you, the 99%, but I recommend this book. A lot. Also appreciating Asperger's syndrome. So it's a paradox that I concocted the DRT theory, which is the only solution in many ways or something similar to it. So pay close attention. I'm excited about it. I'm really happy, joyous now to report it because it's going to require the Bank of Canada, Federal Reserve, and all institutions and organizations, of course, to implement it. Of course, the implementation, of course, will be required thereof. So now, of course, is what we must do today, the 24th of June, and looking for in the coming days, weeks, and months ahead. So that is another aspect. That it's an urgency because we're perhaps on the verge of a public-private financial collapse. But many citizens are in debt, not just me. And more are going into their debts to pay for necessities. Food bank usage has more than doubled in Canada. Think about that. In 7 years, not 50, 44, 40, 35, but just now, in the past 7 years. So it's an emergency. The debt refusion theory incorporates in it the MIT. Super important to keep note. The MIT monetary integration theory is integrated in the MIT, which was which was, of course, incorporated in the European Union, of course, in the 90s. In the 90s, the MIT Monetary Integration Treaty was implemented in the 90s in the European Union. Of course, the Germans, they implemented the MIT Monetary Integration Theory, and of course, in the 90s, right in the 90s. So, this is it. We're going to take all the public and the private debt, all the public and the private debt, all the public and the private debt in continuum. So my $10,000, your $10,000, their $10,000. Hey, look at the bunny. That's a good omen. Good omen. Bunnies, 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 bunnies with the DRT. So all the debt, public and private, we're going to add it all up. In Canada, we're going to convert it into US dollars. We're going to convert it into US dollars, right? Convert it into US dollars. We're going to add it with the US public-private debt. We're going to merge the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve, we're going to merge the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve with the Bank of Canada. We're going to merge them into the Imperial Central Bank, a new central bank, just like in my DRT, right, is integrated the MIT Monetary Integration Theory, which is this financial theory, which was implemented in the 90s successfully by the European Union, And more than 20 nations have a common currency and a common central bank. So that is important, of course, to know. So look at those beautiful flowers there. Of course, that is important to know. So these beautiful flowers there as we're going to march towards the sun. So all the debt, public and private debt, right? All of it, all the public and the private debt is, of course, going to be refused. We're going to convert it into US dollars. We're going to create the UE, U.Universal, U.Exchange, U.UE. The Universal Exchange Unit will have the value of the US dollar. We're going to get rid of the border, do a census, reform the Constitution, create the co-complementary covenant of cooperative institutions, the Dragon Army, aka Imperial Integrated SSSD Legion, Security Service and Defense Legion, and the Imperial Security Service, and there's the Legion and the Dragon Army with the DGA, the Dancing Goddess Army, the Imperial Integrated Dance League for environmental education and action across the North American Collective. And this will enable us to mass finance fitness, security, build new satellites for total SSSD. We're going to fuse the RCMP and FBI into the CPS, and of course we're going to fuse not just the FBI and the RCMP, but we're going to, of course, fuse CSIS and the CIA, which are co-equivalent into the Imperial Security Integrated Service, do a great census, mass finance fitness, mass finance rehabilitation of our massive population, those who lost their liberty, and mass finance tourism. 16 days, 4 times, different times a year, food, housing, and lodging, and nights. So DRT, that Refusion.